So, John, what is the most embarrassing thing that you've done while being locked up in your apartment so far?
Oh, you mean in this current situation that we're in which we're kind of locked down? I'm not going to lie, I've done a lot of dancing.
Really?
Yeah. Just a slight cabin fever, bit of pop music, full choreo, singing, various states of undress.
What sort of dances have you done?
I mean, I wouldn't like to go into too much detail, to be honest. But,
Go on.
It's a lot of pop music, so sometimes I'll go for the full
single
choreo.
ladies dance? Have you done the cha-cha slide?
It's more like Britney. No, nothing like, not the Macarena. Come on. Just the Macarena alone in the flat.
Macarena. YMCA?
No. More like Britney stuff,
Okay.
Yeah. Macarena.
See, now I'm just imagining, because Britney and other music like that, I wouldn't be surprised to see in like a drag race lip sync.
Sure, yeah, that's kind of the vibe I'm going for.
And now imagining you just do, what is it they call it? Do they call it a body slam?
Oh, a death drop.
A death drop, sorry. Yeah, I'm not imagining you doing death drops and all sorts in your apartment.
I'm not brave enough for a death drop, no. Just a bit of light grinding is fine.
What are you grinding against?
Whatever comes to hand,
Oh, you're a maniac.
Some films are fine just the way they are. Other films sometimes take it way too far. But really, how bad could it get? Let's go beyond the box set.
Welcome everybody to Beyond the Box Set, the podcast where today we are pitching prequels, sequels and spin-offs to the amazing, really happy film that is Room.
Yes we are. I wonder whose idea that was.
Whoops. Not The Room with Tommy Wiseau.
No, we all did that one. That was fun.
Yes. Room, where Brie Larson wins an Oscar.
Yes.
We'll also be pitching some drinking games and hearing from our listeners with submissions that they've posted on our social media pages. But first, we're going to talk about some of our favourite moments from this fun film and give a bit of a plot summary just to catch all you guys up. I'm Harry, the host with the most. Room.
Sure, yeah, you have a house, I have a flat, that's fair.
Yes. And joining me as always, the host who clearly is going insane with how locked up he is, it's John Lucas.
Hello. Yeah. Hanging by a fingernail at this point. My mental health is hanging by an absolute fingernail.
Cool. So, Room, you've seen this before, haven't you?
Yes, I saw this in the cinema.
Yeah, I think I saw this around that time as well. Mm-hmm. It was a big Oscar film when it came out, wasn't it?
It did. It won. It won Best Actress for Brie Larson. Yes, I think it got some other nominations. Yeah, it was a big one. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Best Picture nomination.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a really good film to watch in Oscar season when you're primed for misery. It was a good film.
Hey, I didn't find this film that miserable.
You kept saying that, and what were you thinking? What were you thinking? I have watched, Contagion, fine. Outbreak, a hoot. This, I would watch both of those films. Don't get me wrong, this is a great, great film, and it deserved all the success and the acclaim that it got. I would rather watch Contagion 10 times over than have to sit through this again. This emotional wringer, this deeply upsetting. How are we supposed to talk comedically about this film? Seriously.
Well, we have to try our best, John.
Oh, God. I loved the bit where her dad couldn't look at it in the eyes because every time he looked at the little boy, he saw the years of rape his daughter had endured. What a hoot. Comedy
Great, thanks,
gold.
John. Yeah. Come on, let's bring this up.
Okay, I'm just saying, this was rough.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're completely right on every account. This was one of the more serious films that we've done.
Just a tad, yeah.
It's not that I remembered it much very differently. It's just I don't know. I thought there'd be a little bit more to talk about. But on that note, shall I do a plot summary?
Sure. I would just say in the future, I think there's two different thoughts you could have. There is, does this film fit the theme? Yes, it does. Is this film good for podcasting? Maybe. It has to tick both boxes. But
I would have still gone for it.
Okay, well, we'll see.
Because I thought it was going to be good for podcasting, and hey, maybe it still will be.
Maybe, you know what? Let's find out. Yes.
Let's stay in a positive light about this being a good contender for a podcast episode.
Sure. Well, okay. Well, hit me with a snappy, witty plot summary of this movie, then, Harry.
Great. All right. So Brie Larson and her son Jacob Tremblay,
Yes.
who is playing a 5-year-old.
Yeah, I think he's a little bit older, but he is. Yeah, he was like 8, maybe.
Yeah, I think he was, but the actual character was supposed to be 5.
Yes, the character is 5. Yeah.
That's important because she's been locked up for 7 years in this very small room with just a skylight, and she's had a kid. This whole film is told from the kid's point of view.
Yes.
Which is why I think it's not a super depressing film.
Sure, it does slightly shield you because you only get his perspective on things, which is probably a good choice. Also worth mentioning, it's based on a book, and the book was also written from the child's perspective, so that's kind of where it comes from.
Right, okay, yeah.
Once upon a time, before I came, you cried and watched TV all day until you were a zombie. But then I zoomed down from heaven through skylights into room. And I was kicking you from the inside. Boom, boom. And then I shot out onto work with my eyes wide open. And you cut the cord and said, "Hello, Jack."
Yeah, and so we start off with, well, basically a montage, I guess. Or just, sort of a setting the scene thing of just daily life with those two. And they've not got much to do, but also it's clearly all that he knows. He just knows this small room that he refers to as room, and he refers to everything just as a proper noun, like, I'm going to go and live in wardrobe for a little bit. And,
Yeah, he thinks the room is the entire world, and everything outside of the room is make-believe. That's what he's been led to believe, how he's been raised to think.
Yeah, and every now and then there is this guy called Old Nick, as far as we know, who comes in and gives them a little bit of food sometimes, and in the night makes some noises.
Oh, are you trying to tell this from the kid's perspective as well?
Not intentionally, but that's how it goes, isn't it?
Well, yeah. Well, Nick is the captor. He's kidnapped these people.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. Well, it's not a spoiler. That becomes clear very, very early on.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not like that's shock twist. Yeah. Old Nick has kidnapped Brie Larson when she was about 18, I would say, maybe.
Something like that, yeah.
And yes, she's been locked in this very small room, and he comes by every night and he rapes her. What a feel-good film.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, John.
Yeah.
And that's, to be honest, that's pretty much like the first half hour of the film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just kind of setting a scene like that. The film really gets interesting for me when they eventually break out. And then I find that most of the film, in fact, the last 2/3 of the film, are all just Jacob Tremblay exploring the world.
Sure, yes.
Outside of the room. I'd say them being locked in the room, like, it is a significant part of the film. I feel like it should have been shorter, but it's mainly just setting the scene. Well, the story is not about them being locked in a room. Mm-hmm. It's about Jacob Tremblay learning about the world.
Sure, yeah. I think a lot of movies would have just all been that, and the credits would have rolled when they escape. But what this film does that's quite interesting is it takes maybe, I think it's just under half actually. It's more than you think. About half the movie is them surviving in the room, and then how they eventually escape, which we'll kind of get to that. And then the second half of the movie is, like you said, them adapting to outside life, which he's never experienced before. They move in with Brie Larson's mother, and Brie Larson is having a really hard time readjusting. Obviously she's deeply traumatized. She feels a lot of guilt, and she's having a lot of her own emotional problems. Whereas he actually, even though he's never lived outside of the room, he bounces back very quickly. Relatively speaking, like he seems to adapt quite well to the outside world because he's only 5 years old. He's young, and I think that's quite a wise observation that the film kind of makes, is that you'd think that he'd be more traumatized because he's never known anything different, but actually because he's still so young, I think one of the doctors said, "You're lucky he got out while he was still plastic," which I believe is the term for being emotionally capable of recovery from something like this. So he recovers, and she really doesn't, or she really struggles. So but as you say, we're seeing this from his perspective, so we get a lot of his confusion as to why his mother is so unhappy. when, on the surface things are a lot better. So I think the movie explores that in a really interesting way.
Yeah, it does.
I will say, as much as this was not a film I really wanted to be watching right now, I was impressed. It's not like just misery porn. Like, it does manage to. I think it's a very fine line when you got something as heavy as this in terms of the subject matter to just make it so bleak that it's exploitative. I think it manages to. Again, it's because I think the fact that they do tell it from the kid's perspective, that all the stuff about how she's essentially being raped every night and all that stuff, it's there and it's heart-wrenching, it's horrible, but it's not so upsetting in the sense that it could have been if it was just a film that was just like, oh, look at the horrible stuff, just look at it. Like, it does keep you just on the right side of that, I think. So
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and I wouldn't have picked it if it was on the other side of that.
Sure, yeah.
Like, I'm not going to pick 12 Years a Slave as my next
No.
film.
Well, have I got news for you? Next week's the John pick. And, Schindler's List, yes. It's been on the shortlist for a while. But what did you think of the actual escape then? That's kind of the crucial...
I thought it was great. I loved how tense it was.
It was very tense. It was such a stupid plan. That was what really, I found,
I
freaked
kind
me
of
out.
agree, but then also I was like, they've got nothing else.
Sure. But it really sets you on edge because there are so many ways that plan could go wrong. So essentially what she decides to do, I can't remember what the impetus is for her to decide that this is the moment to leave. I think maybe just because he's getting older and she sees an opportunity with the power going down or something.
Yeah, something like that.
There's a power cut, or he cuts off the power. The kidnapper, old Nick, he loses his job, doesn't he? He loses his job, and it transpires that he's having money problems, and he cuts off the power to their room for a few days. So they're cold, and they don't have any energy or any electricity or anything. So she takes this opportunity to feign sickness with to make it look like Jacob Tremblay is ill, like a high fever, and then to make it look like he's died. And then she wraps him up in a carpet and asks the guy to get rid of the body.
Initially it's just the sickness.
Yes.
And
yes, that's it. She wants him to go to hospital.
Like, plan A was to, hey, look, he's sick, take him to the hospital. And that doesn't really work because old Nick's just like, oh, okay, then, well, I'll come back. And he just leaves. Yeah, that plan doesn't work. So then, she goes to plan B, which is much more intense.
Just to torture. Where Jacob Tremblay essentially has to play dead.
Yeah.
And risk
against his will, pretty much.
Against his will. Risk being buried alive. What if we just buried him in the backyard?
Yeah, well, I don't know.
It's a big old risk.
Yeah.
It's good, it's effective, it's gripping, but it is incredibly, incredibly foolhardy, the choice that she makes.
You see how that's even trixier than pretending to be sick because you're gonna play dead? Folding over.
I don't want to be dead.
You're just pretending to be dead. Stay stiff. We're gonna roll you up in rug so that old Nick won't see you, won't see that you're alive inside.
Old Nick's gonna pick you up. This. Stay stiff.
And you're not gonna be wobbly and floppy this time. You're gonna be real stiff, like a robot.
It's gonna shake. Feel that? This is what it'll feel like. And that's when you know that old Nick's driving. That means he's busy, and so it's time for you to roll.
And you're not gonna make a sound. And I'm gonna be there in your head talking to you the whole time.
Roll. Now wiggle. Wiggle, get yourself out.
Stop!
Come on, Jack.
Mom, yeah!
So she pretends that Jacob Tremblay is dead, rolls him up in a rug, just as old Nick walks in, and so old Nick doesn't actually see him at all.
Yes.
She, claims that he's dead, he died of whatever illness he had, and she wants him buried somewhere by trees. Not anywhere near here, because she'll feel him! I'll feel him near me.
Yeah.
And so as the plan is, he takes Jacob Tremblay, puts him in the back of his truck, and drives off somewhere.
How does she even know he has an open back truck like that? What if it had just been like the boot of a car? You would have been screwed.
Yeah? No,
She's not seen what he drives
I don't know.
7 years.
Maybe that's the thing that she did know for whatever reason. Like maybe he's told her at some point. He seems like the sort of person who might talk about his truck or whatever.
I guess, yeah.
There's
just so much that could have gone
Or maybe
wrong.
she just assumed, like based on the kind of person he is, like
That he has a big old assumption.
Yeah.
Like, this plan depends on Jacob Tremblay being... The car. He's rolled up in a carpet. It absolutely depends on the carpet being put in an open back truck unsupervised, with room to roll about. Mm-hmm. That's a whole... And that he wouldn't just, like, say, yeah, sure, I'll bury him by trees and just, like, bury him in the back garden. There's so much that could have gone wrong. I'm sorry, I'm really hung up on this, but it really bothered me.
Yeah. Well, it's completely fair. But anyway, nothing does go wrong. He gets out, and eventually at a stop sign, he jumps out and runs to a person, screams for help. Old Nick grabs him for a little bit, but then gives up and drives off, leaving Jacob Tremblay behind. And Jacob Tremblay gets picked up by the police. And I think this is probably my favourite bit of this movie. It's a weird movie to have a favourite bit for.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But it's just the two police officers. How one of them was very competent and the other one's completely incompetent.
Is he? I wouldn't go that far. He just doesn't seem like he's particularly engaged with it.
Well, yeah, he wasn't at all. Like, the guy who was driving, he was just like, oh, just leave it. Like, we'll just sort it out when we get there. We'll just give him to child services and that'll do it. And then the other lady, she literally works out everything. Just like, okay, well, he's been locked up in a room for probably his whole life, a room with a single skylight, 3 stop signs away. And
oh, no, she does excellent detective work. She is a heroine. Yeah.
Yes, she deserves a promotion.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like, she works it all out, and then that's it. They find it, they free Brie Larson, and yeah, it's great. On with the second part of the film.
So she gets out and they're in hospital for a few days, and we see him adjusting to kind of basic stuff like a shower and having more space than a tiny little backyard shed.
And the amazing view of the city they've got.
Yes.
They got some good hospital treatment.
That is the hospital's executive suite, definitely.
Yeah.
But they end up moving back in with Brie Larson's mother, played by Joan Allen. And it turns out that in the 7 years that she's been incarcerated, her mum and dad have split up. And the mum is very supportive. She handles it as well as could be expected, I guess. But the dad is having a really hard time with it. And he's having a particularly hard time with Jacob Tremblay, the kid, because he just can't look at him. Because obviously when he sees the kid, all he sees is the fact that his daughter was raped for 7 years. And he's the product of that. So, yeah. And he kind of disappears from the movie very quickly. Like, I felt that made a very harsh... They didn't really, like, labour over it too much. They just make this kind of very harsh point that he just cannot deal with it, and so he just disappears from the movie pretty much entirely.
Yeah, I'm glad that he left, because I didn't really want that to be a plot line.
Yeah, I think this movie's good at, like, again, it could have also gone down the route of like, oh, will old Nick go to prison? Will it be a court drama? But like, it lifts out all the extraneous stuff and just leaves you with, again, because it's from Jacob Tremblay's perspective, he's being protected from a lot of this. So I'm sure the dad didn't just like never speak to his daughter again, but from Jacob Tremblay's perspective, he disappears from the story. So he does. Yeah. But yeah, so the mom, the love with the mom, but for a lot of this, Brie Larson's just really struggling to adjust, and there's lots of like struggling for money, for example. So they end up having to do a TV
primetime interview.
A primetime interview, yes.
Which they really should have vetted the questions.
Yes, I did think they leaned in. They went a little heavy with some of these questions, like as bad as American TV can be. Like, don't you feel guilty? Seems very like triggering and judgmental.
Yeah. So she has this primetime interview, which goes very badly for her. I mean, yeah, sure, they've got some money, but also now she is chronically depressed to the point of attempted suicide.
Yeah.
And then she gets written out of the movie.
For a while, yeah. Yeah, essentially, she because she's in hospital. So she makes a suicide attempt. Another cheerful moment in this cheerful movie.
Yay!
So she's recovering for a while, and we get from Jacob Tremblay's perspective, the grandma looking after him and saying, you know, your mom needs some time to herself right now. And obviously he doesn't really understand that at all. Obviously it's quite upsetting for him. But we get some nice stuff with the grandma where she's cuts his hair, and he seems to be coping very, very well under the circumstances.
Yeah.
And then the movie ends with the mum coming back and they get kind of reunited.
Yeah.
That's kind of it.
That is pretty much it, yeah.
Yeah. There's the plot, yeah.
Yeah. I still think this is a really good film.
It is. It's a great, great film. I'm not disputing that for a second. It's a really, really good film. Yeah. It's a really interesting spin on a story that's not told all the time, but like it's been done. You know, kidnapping films have been done before, like but I don't think they've ever been done in this particular way. I think it puts a really interesting take on it, and I think the way they put it from the child's perspective is really, really well handled. And it helps that Jacob Tremblay is unbelievably good in it. Like, it all so depends on having a child actor who's going to be able to make this believable. And he really does. Like, so much.
Okay, do you want to get to drinking games?
Oh, yeah, I've got so many, Harry.
All right.
I'm just, again, how do you, like, have funny drinking games with this film? Like, I've got a few, but wasn't easy. This was not easy.
Okay, John, thank you.
Will you go first?
Your tone is appreciated. Drink for shouting.
Drink for shouting. Okay, just he does shout a lot. Well, they both shout at each other quite a lot. So
yeah, there's a lot of moments where they'll just be like a normal conversation, then suddenly they'll just shout something at each other.
Yeah. Oh, and there's also the scene when they're shouting out of the skylight to try and get someone's attention. Yeah. So yeah, lots of raised volume in this film, I guess. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Drink whenever Jacob Tremblay misunderstands the world.
Yeah, that's a good one.
You know, because of the things that his mother has taught him. Like, I did get one laugh out of this bleak horror fest, which is when she's explaining to him, "Oh, by the way, everything I've ever told you is a lie." Like, because she's told him for 5 years that the whole world is the room, just to help him to cope with it, and everything else is imaginary. And then she decides on his 5th birthday to just dump this entirely new world concept on the poor kid. Like, she really dumps a lot on him at once, and like expects him to just be on board with it. But I did get a little chuckle when she says, "People on TV, they're real too." And he goes, "Dora's real?" And she goes, "No, Dora's a drawing, but people..." As in Dora the Explorer, but people are real. So.
Imagine what would happen if you watched The Matrix.
Yeah. Oh God, that's when he finds that film, it's going to blow his tiny mind, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole world of media that's going to, mess with his head. But
drink whenever Jacob Tremblay refers to something as a proper noun, such as room, chair number 2, wardrobe, world.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're very good. Okay. Okay, I've only got one more. Drink when you cry, as an audience member. When you well up, reach for a big old glass of wine, chug it down.
Aww.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair, good one.
What were your? I mean, did you? Were you dry as a bone, or did you?
Yeah, I didn't cry. I didn't really find anything in this like majorly heart-wrenchingly sad.
God, are you dead inside?
It doesn't really have that moment though.
What do you mean? It's all that moment. There's so much of this film that set me off.
It's not a positive mood film, I'll give you that, but it's not. Which bits did you cry at?
Well, not just like upsetting moments. Like there were a few, like when he gets wrapped in the carpet and when she realizes that he's gone, that set me off. When they get reunited, that really got me. When she sees him through the taxi and she's like clawing at the door, that set me off. Mm-hmm. When the mum and dad came in, that set me off. In the hospital when they first see her for the first time in 7 years, that got me.
Wow, okay, this film went really differently for you. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have picked this.
And also, I think the most I cried actually was when the grandma's cutting his hair. Not because I was upset that she was cutting his hair. No, but just the bit. I mean, I was already a wreck at this point because this film had already like ruined me emotionally. But then when she's cutting his hair and he just says, "Grandma, I love you," and then she just takes a moment and she has to hold herself together, and I was gone. I was absolutely gone. That was actually, forget the dancing. That was the most embarrassing being locked up alone experience I've had this week.
Wow. Just
being in a flat on my own watching this film and just like sobbing like a baby.
Okay,
so
sure.
Thank you for putting me through that emotional ringer, Harry.
Oh, you're welcome.
What's wrong with you?
I don't know, John. Maybe I'm locked up inside as well and everything's just going topsy-turvy in my head.
Yeah, I think we need to look into this.
Great.
Okay. Have you got any more drinking games?
No, I'm done.
Okay, cool.
This is the best part. Does it feel good?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Oh, let's see.
I love you, Grandma.
I love you too, Jack.
So before we do sequels, just want to let the listeners know, if anybody's actually got this far into this dreadful episode.
I don't think it's dreadful, but whatever.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, yeah, thanks for your support now, John.
I'm doing my best.
Anyway, me and John are available on Patreon. So if you go to patreon.com/beyondtheboxset, you can support us for as much or as little as you want, and you get some bonus features. You get a bonus show where, about every week or so, me and John review a film.
Yeah.
Currently, because of lockdown, we're not doing cinema releases. We're taking requests, really. So, send anything and everything.
Yep.
Not
current
rude.
lineup
Not unhappy things. Happy things only.
Yeah. I was going to say, yeah, we've got what we're doing. We've got a Serbian film. We've got Schindler's List. We've got Sophie's Choice. We've got 12 Years a Slave. It's all the feel-good classics we've got coming down the line. Yeah.
Well, we're probably going to do Onward soon, and a few
God,
other,
that's gonna. Is that going to destroy me as well?
In the cinema, we're going to do some Disney's.
Have you watched Onward yet?
No, not yet. I'm going to.
Okay, because if that's going to inside out me, I need some space. I need some time. I'm not ready for another one of these yet. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. That is a good point. Okay, maybe we'll go back to an old classic or something.
Sure.
Anyway, also if you come on Patreon, you get some more bonus features as well. You get a 30-second advert slot on the main show. You can talk about anything you want to. Also on the main show, every now and then we'll do a Patreon episode where we pick a Patreon and you get to choose the film for us. You can guest if you want to, but you don't have to. And you also get our Facebook group, and you get extended versions of the main show as well.
Oh, great. Yep, yeah, very good.
So all that available, patreon.com/beyondtheboxset. Please send us your requests.
Yes.
Bonjour tout le monde, I'm Finn, and every Tuesday I host a podcast called Passport People, in which I talk to people from around the world about the places that matter to them. What is so special about each location? What makes each place tick? Where are they headed? To join us on our round-the-world trip, talking to a diverse range of fascinating people from an incredible variety of professional and cultural backgrounds, search for Passport People in Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Okay, sequels. Do you want to go first?
Sure, yeah, okay. So, this was tough.
Yeah.
This was not the easiest, because how do you make a sequel to this film? But
John,
I think
you can always veto a film, by the way.
Well, if I'd known that last week...
When did you watch this film?
Oh, do you mean after the fact? Oh, I only watched it yesterday.
Well, there's your problem.
I'm a busy man. Don't have time. No, this was challenging, but I've come up with something that I think I can live with. I'm happy with. Okay, so it's not a funny sequel. I've not gone for a comedy, so my powers are only so great.
Okay,
so it's quite a serious sequel. But,
great.
Yeah.
Can't wait. I hope this doesn't make me cry loads, John. I have to go and dance it off or whatever.
I think you're okay, Harry. I think those ducts have dried up. It's a lack of use. No, okay. So it's a straight sequel. It is set 8 years later. I think this film came out like 5 years ago, but the reason I say 8 is because I want to catch Jacob Tremblay up to his current age, so he's not having to play a few years younger.
Yeah,
which would mean he is 30, which is how old Jacob Tremblay is now.
Yeah,
which is a good age for the kind of sequel I'm working on. So I don't think the original film specifies what year it's supposed to be, so I don't think it particularly matters.
No.
In terms of, this film being potentially set in the near future. Doesn't matter. So it's 8 years later. Jack is now 13 years old. And we're going to catch up on, obviously, what's been going on with the two of them in the meantime. But this time, I'm thinking it's still going to be via voiceover, but this time it's going to be from Brie Larson's perspective. We're going to get her side of things this time. Because I think because he's a teenager, like teenage boys are not the most communicative. So I think it would be good to have a perspective on her watching her son grow up and kind of grow apart from her, and her having to try and understand that and try and reckon with it. And also, I hate films that have teenage characters doing voiceover narration. It really drives me nuts because it's always so phony.
Yeah.
So I think I much prefer to do the adults. So we find out that Joy, for that is Brie Larson's character's name, Joy, she's now moved out of her mother's place, and she ended up going back to college to kind of catch up on the education that she missed out on while she was suffering her ordeal. So she went to college, and now she's got a job in the city. Like they've moved out of that town and they moved into the nearest city. Doesn't matter which city particularly. And they now have a small apartment, just like a 2-bedroom apartment in the city with the two of them. She works very hard. She's kind of dedicated to her job, and she just tries to live a quiet life. The reason she wanted to get out of that town was because she didn't want to be forever known as the girl who got kidnapped. Because everyone knows her face, everyone knows her story. She didn't want that for herself. She didn't want that for Jack. So they've moved far enough away that she can live a semblance of a normal life, and she's very private in that way. Mm-hmm. So all this time, all these years since they've got out, it's always just been the two of them. Still them against the world, very close. Mother-son relationship. But now that Jack's a teenager, he's starting to pull away a little bit. And we'll get this from her voiceover, how she'll explain this. So he's obviously a very smart kid, but he started to have trouble at school, where he's getting into a lot of trouble. He's acting out, he's skipping classes, just standard, teenage angst stuff, basically, teenage playing out. And he also has a lot of anger issues, and he has a tendency to lash out, physically and emotionally. So she's very worried about him, basically. All of this, understandable, he would have some issues, as he deals with, what he dealt with.
Yeah.
So I was thinking maybe she's probably in therapy. She certainly should be, to get over her trauma. And also because therapy is a good exposition dump. So handy.
Yes, that's very true.
Handy therapist is going to be on hand. She could be talking to about her concerns.
Who's the therapist?
Ooh, who's the therapist? Oh, Gillian Jacobs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She could be good.
Yeah. I.e. Britta from Community.
Yeah.
Yes, just for those who don't watch the show. I can see her as a therapist, yeah. So anyway, whoever it might be, Gillian Jacobs or otherwise, the therapist advises her that it's natural for teenagers to pull away from their parents. That's just part of life, part of growing up, and it might actually be healthy. And that she should also take this opportunity to take some time for herself, because she's dedicated her entire life to him. And maybe this is an opportunity for her to kind of find herself a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And we learn that she's never actually been on a date or had any kind of relationship since getting out of the kidnapping situation, because obviously hugely traumatic. She's obviously going to have massive trust issues and not want to be around men or anyone. So yeah, she's very much just not opened up that part of her life at all.
Yeah.
And she doesn't really want to, but the therapist advises her that she should at least try if she feels that she can. This might be a good opportunity for her to maybe just dip a toe in, just try to get into that world a little bit. So she does, and then so I think this is going to be one main plot line of the movie, is going to be Brie Larson's character exploring like the dating scene a little bit, trying it, and not telling people who she is and what her backstory is, because she doesn't want that to be out there. She's really intensely private about that chapter of her life. So, but obviously it does cause her a lot of difficulties when she's trying to date guys, because she's incredibly afraid of intimacy. She's very uncomfortable. It takes her a long time to warm up to people, and it means that she has some bad experiences. She has a lot of guys, not like bad experiences to compare with what happened to her in the movie, but just standard issue, bad dates, dates that go wrong, men who lose interest very quickly when she doesn't want to go to bed straight away. She definitely has some bad dates, some bad experiences. She has to kiss a lot of frogs, or not kiss a lot of frogs. I think she probably wouldn't even kiss them. But eventually she does meet a nice guy. Maybe it's like a colleague at where she works. I'm thinking she'll have like a kind of job in an office or something where she can be, she's using her college education at this point, but she's not drawing attention to herself. So maybe she has all these like bad dates that people try and set her up on, or through Tinder or whatever, and then eventually she has this friend at work, or this work colleague who's always had a bit of a crush at her, but she's never really acknowledged it, she's never really realised it, and then eventually he gets up the courage, asks her out, and so these two people start tentatively dating, and he's gonna be kind of shy and very, very patient with her, and quite quirky, and just a genuinely nice guy, and what she needs at this point in her life. And he is obviously going to be played by Danny Pudi.
Ah, okay, yeah.
Because we're reigniting that love story. Because pre-fame Brie Larson was in Community. So again, we're sprinkling bits of Community. Can you tell Community's back on Netflix? So sprinkling it in here and there. But yeah, so I thought it'd be good to bring them back together, because in Community she plays Danny Pudi, who played Arbed in Community. She plays his love interest in a few episodes. Yeah. And then I think she just vanished because she got famous and didn't have time anymore. I don't think they ever really resolved what happened to her.
Maybe, yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah. I'd have to rewatch all the way through to confirm, but yeah, ultimately, yes. I just thought it'd be a nice little nod to have them reunited. They made they made a cute couple, so yeah. So he's her nice guy boyfriend, who's very patient, and who she starts to feel able to open up a little bit. So that can be one plot line, just kind of a sweet romance between her and him. But then another major plot point of this film, it's going to have a few little plot things kind of circling around it, the way these kind of dramas often do.
Yeah.
Another plot line is that while she's going through all this dating experience and trying to like be a good mom to Jacob Tremblay, she's always trying to protect their privacy and not tell anyone what happened to them. But she's constantly being hounded to like write a book about it, you know, or go on the talk show circuit and talk about it. Even now, years later, like it's still, people are constantly trying to like make a book out of her. So they will even like do reality television, you know. She even gets offered to do like tacky reality shows, but she turns everything down. Like she just does not want to be defined by the tragedy in her life. So she says absolutely not to everything, flat no. But around this time, the period of this film, around this time, she learns that an unauthorized TV movie is in production about her experience.
Okay.
Yeah. And she immediately tries to get it shut down. She contacts her lawyers and tries to get it shut down. But she's told that, as TV people often do, they've changed it just enough that they can get away with it and she can't sue them. So they have completely ripped off her story, but now it's been changed so much that she has no control over the narrative. So she can't stop this show from being made.
Yeah.
And it's not a thoughtful Oscar baity film like Room at all. This is a trashy, exploitative TV movie.
Mm-hmm.
So this is actually kind of the misery porn version of the film. I was thankful that the actual film is not. That's what this is. This is very exploitative, very trashy.
Yeah.
She's really unhappy about it. She's not going to watch it. She will refuse to watch it because what would it possibly? Why would she possibly want to watch that? But we will. I think we can see some scenes from it and see how it's taken this, you know, very traumatic, sad experience and turned it into something really grimy and horrible and, you know, just unpleasant and cheesy as well. I was thinking the actress who plays the Brie Larson character in the TV movie should be an actress called Lucy Hale, who is the girl from Truth or Dare and Fantasy Island.
Yeah.
Just because like that's the level we're working at in terms of like, you know, sensitivity. So yeah, so see this awful TV movie comes out. She doesn't watch it, but it does reignite interest in her story. You know, this thing that's maybe died down a little bit after 8 years. You know, she's managed to stay private, but now it's become this huge TV sensation. And now once again, she's finding that all the media are like harassing her again. They're like, she's got journalists waiting outside her apartment. She's getting all kinds of people asking her about, you know, once again trying to get her to go on chat shows, trying to ask her what she thinks about the show, and she's like trying to keep her head down, but they're just constantly hounding her. And all of this attention forces her to come clean with Danny Pudi, her new love interest, who she hasn't told about her past at all. She's just kind of been very vague about why she's quite shy of intimacy and all that kind of stuff. So this forces her to come clean, and she actually tries to break up with him. She says, you know what, I don't want to be defined by this thing that happened to me, and now you know that's all you'll ever see when you look at me. So I'm really sorry, but I can't. This relationship can't continue, you know.
Yeah.
But he insists, because he's a nice guy, he says that he doesn't care about her past. He doesn't care what happened to her in the past. He just wants to be a part of her future. Mm-hmm. So, very sweet. He sticks by her, and they stay together. So that's a nice little happy resolution for her there. So
Yeah,
that's gonna be a main kind of plot thing. And then I think the other main plot strand of it is going to be around Jack, obviously, who also has a hard time when this TV movie comes out because it causes a lot of attention to fall on him as well. And it doesn't take very long for the classmates in his school to figure out who he is and why suddenly there's journalists around, and they realise that he is the kidnapped kid, as they sensitively call him. You know, so he starts being teased for it, harassed for it, to the point where there's a school bully, your classic bully, starts like making fun of him for what happened to him and what happened to his mom. You know, probably makes some really horrible off-color comments about it, and he just flips out and like attacks this kid, this bully, and beats him up to within an inch of his life, like because he's got these anger issues, and this just really triggers all his anger, and so he ends up beating this kid up really badly and getting suspended from school. So this causes obviously more problems between him and his mom. The more she tries to reach out to him, the more he pulls away. And he actually lashes out at her as well. Like, not physically, he doesn't attack her, but like emotionally, he blames, because he's a teenager now and he's hormonal, and you know, he's not that same sweet, trusting kid we saw in the first film. Now he's going through, you know. So he now blames her for everything that happened to them. He feels he's been robbed of a normal childhood, and it's because if she hadn't been kidnapped that day, if she hadn't been stupid enough in his perspective to get kidnapped, then none of this would have happened, and he wouldn't have had this life that he's got now. So it causes a major problem in their relationship, and it's causing him a lot of emotional trauma, and you know, with school and everything. So that's his plot line. That's kind of as far as I went. I want it to obviously. I don't want it just to end on this horrible note where his life is ruined by this. So I want them to find some way to reconnect, or to make peace with each other. Have you got any thoughts on how the mother and son relationship can be repaired? Maybe.
I think that maybe he needs to just go on an emotional journey of some sort, and I don't know, maybe find a similar case of how this has happened or when this has happened. Investigate it in his own way, and then come to a conclusion that, like, oh no, my mum definitely did the best that she could.
Yeah. I was thinking maybe he also becomes interested in the fact that he becomes obsessed with the kidnapper, who's obviously in jail. Like, he would be definitely in jail for life. But maybe because this guy is his biological father, maybe he does become a little bit, like, fixated on this, and part of him wants to meet him, and then part of him doesn't, and then maybe the film follows him trying to... And obviously, Brie Larson's like, absolutely not, that's a terrible idea. I never, ever want you to lay eyes on him. He doesn't have any right to you at all. And maybe he comes really close to it, but then in the end he decides not to. Like, he closes the door and he's like, maybe like goes up to the prison gates and everything, but then at the last minute he turns around and decides not to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and or maybe he moves, and maybe as well, maybe he moves back in with his grandma. Maybe that's the thing he does when him and his mum fall out, and maybe the grandma helps him to kind of,
grandma who he loves.
Yeah, grandma
Don't cry.
No, it's fine now. I don't have to watch it. It's fine. I've worked through the emotions now. But yeah, maybe she helps him to understand that, like, Brie Larson was only trying to do her best, and it was difficult for her as well. And ultimately, I just want them to. I don't want it to end on a bleak note. I want them to reconcile. So so that's essentially it. It's just more of a quiet little character study about, like, how they deal with how they both independently and as a family deal with the events that happen to them. So
yeah, no, I like it. It's kind of where I expected a straight sequel for this to go.
Yeah, that was kind of what I was thinking of. I couldn't really think of a way to make this like, oh, let's go funny and quirky. So I just went with, something quite straight. So my working title for that is Room to Breathe. Room to Breathe. I like it. Because they both need a bit of room to breathe from each other and from everything. So
yeah, that totally works. Okay, well, I've not done what you've done. You said that you didn't want to do anything a bit sort of silly and wacky. Well, that's what I've done.
Oh, great. Well, this should be highly inappropriate. I can't wait.
Actually, it's not. But this one's called Roommates.
Roommate, okay.
Yeah. So, Brie Larson's character, who I don't believe ever gets a name.
Joy,
okay. Yeah. She can't afford to live in a place of her own.
Is this a direct sequel, or are you passing the time of it?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Is poor Jacob Tremblay going to have to be shot from weird angles to make him look like he's still 5?
It could be a couple of years later, I don't know.
Okay, sure, yeah.
He's not really in it that much.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, so she has to move into a house share with another woman.
Oh, okay. What, is she at college? Has she got a job, or is she just trying to get away from her mum for a while?
Just trying to get away from her mum for a while.
Okay, sure, fair enough.
Really.
Trying to strike out on her
just kind of start a life of her own properly.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. All she can afford is a basement apartment in New York.
Okay.
Her roommate, Kimmy Schmidt.
Oh, that's good. No, I like that. Okay, yeah, because they both had similar experiences.
Well, your whole face changed right then.
I was so nervous when you said, I've done a wacky one. I was like, oh God, is this going to be awful? Are we going to get cancelled? But no, I like this. That's actually a really good pairing. Yeah.
Yeah. No, this isn't too risky a sequel.
Okay.
Now, initially, Joy and Kimmy clash wildly.
Okay.
They really don't get on. Their personalities just don't work together.
Do they both know? Are they being upfront about what's happened to them both? Did they meet on like a survived? Oh, it's just a pure coincidence.
Because they're both trying to just move past it.
Right. Okay. So they didn't meet in like a survivors chat room or anything. It's just pure coincidence.
It's coincidence that they found each other on Craigslist or however Americans find apartments.
Okay. And is it actual Kimmy Schmidt?
Yes.
Okay. So does that mean that, like, is this after she's moved out from Titus's, or?
I forget how the show ended. Did she move out? Because
I can't remember either. That last season was kind of forgettable, to be honest. Right?
A little bit, yeah. I literally only finished it a couple of months ago, but yeah, I've forgotten.
Well, okay, sure, but are they? What I mean is, are they still in the picture? Are we going to get cameos from Titus and from Carol Kane?
I've not got anything written in, but it would be nice to have them.
They could pop up. Sure, yeah. Okay.
So yeah, they're clashing wildly. They're not getting on. They hate each other. They're bad housemates. Maybe get a fair few scenes of that. Maybe half a movie. Who knows? Either way, at one point, Brie Larson gets a phone call, and it's actually from old Nick in prison.
Okay. Oh, is it like in Kimmy Schmidt where John Hamm would phone up out of the
It's
blue?
exactly like that. It turns out that he somehow managed to legally marry her, but now wants a divorce so that he can marry some man that he's met in prison.
I question even the American justice system, any justice system that would allow that marriage to stand up in court, but sure.
Well, maybe it was something to do with he wanted to get all her assets when she was declared, missing or whatever.
Sure, okay.
And so perhaps he faked a marriage certificate or something. I don't know. I mean, those are all details that are not important right here. The point is,
Sure.
we're repeating, season 3 or whatever, Kimmy Schmidt. They are married. He wants a divorce.
Okay.
So after hanging up this phone call, pretty much immediately, Brie Larson sits down and cries. And when Kimmy asks...
Wait a second. Sorry. Is Jacob Tremblay living in the apartment with Kimmy Schmidt and Brie Larson?
Yeah, sure, but I've basically not included him in this. Maybe he's just at school most of the time.
Okay, maybe he stayed with his grandma.
Sure, yeah, all that works.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Kimmy asks what's up, and Brie Larson replies that, no, you wouldn't understand. I've been through something really big and I just can't seem to shift it. Kimmy admits that she's also been through something really big, and then they both explain what's going on.
Oh, okay. So then,
they have a little bonding moment, just like, oh, you were locked up, I was locked up, we're the same, we're like sisters.
Okay.
A scene that goes like that, maybe, I don't know. Or
okay, sure.
Maybe a little sadder, who knows. Yeah, and then Kimmy brings the advice to the matter on hand of like, hey, so this prison divorce thing, I've been through all this. What you want to do, you really want to drag it out. You want to make it an absolute shit show for them because, hey, all they've got is time, and they took away time from you. So,
oh, so Kimmy's like her survival mentor, ultimately.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Like she's been through it all already.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I like that.
Yeah. So as they work through it, the divorce that is, one point while Brie's on the phone to old Nick, she asks about the man he wants to marry, and he replies that, I think he's some sort of revenant or something.
Well, so he's marrying John Hamm.
He is marrying John Hamm, yes, from Kimmy Schmidt.
So John Hamm's gay now?
Would you be surprised?
No, sure, whatever. Okay.
Kimmy is now quite conflicted because though she does want closure for her new friend Brie Larson, she also passionately doesn't want the Revenant to be happy. For people who have not seen Kimmy Schmidt, the Revenant is the person who locks up Kimmy for years.
You keep saying the Revenant. I think you mean the Reverend.
Oh,
the Revenant
come on.
is the film
They're not
Leonardo
the same
DiCaprio.
thing.
No. The Revenant is a film Leonardo DiCaprio won an Oscar for.
Right, okay. What is a Revenant then?
A Revenant is a person who has returned, especially supposedly from the dead.
Oh, right. Ah.
So in many ways, Brie Larson is a Revenant, but
yeah.
John Hamm is
To
not.
be honest, I never knew that they were different words.
Well, they are. Reverend.
Thank you. Yes, so that is the person that kidnapped Kimmy Schmidt in her show. But yeah, Kimmy's quite conflicted because she really doesn't want her captor to have any kind of happiness or anything. So she really she doesn't want him to get married, basically.
Sure.
But she also doesn't want Brie Larson to just be still married to this guy. She's a little bit conflicted about it. But luckily, her good nature wins through in the end. She helps Brie with her divorce, making sure that Brie gets all she can out of it, i.e. all of old Nick's money, old Nick's house, everything. She takes everything from him. They both come to the realization, I mean, both women, they come to the realization that both of those men, they're very bitter, they hate everything, and they're probably straight anyway, so as marriages go, it's not going to be that good.
I don't think it's a goer, to be honest. Sure.
No. Yeah, so then Brie Larson gets all his money in the divorce, sells his house, buys a new house of her own somewhere in the suburbs, maybe near her parents, who knows, and lives happily ever after. The end.
Oh, great. Okay, sure. I mean, how did he get money? He was broke.
Hey, what, old Nick?
Yeah, he was broke in the original.
Yeah, okay, maybe he didn't have much money, but either way, he had a house, didn't he? So
sure. Oh, okay. So she gets everything out of him in some way.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, that works. That's good. I think I just like the idea of them, of the whole Kimmy Schmidt angle. Really, Kimmy Schmidt makes a friend who's also a survivor. So
yeah, I'd like that too.
Interesting take.
I've got a second idea, but it's only short. I guess kind of as a coda to my first idea.
Sure.
It's called Room 2, Self-Isolation.
Okay. Is this just a documentary?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, so it's now a few years later. Brie Larson and Jacob Tremblay, they're living in their house, happily ever after. Mm-hmm. She's got a job somewhere, he goes to school, and then all of a sudden, coronavirus hits.
Oh, no.
Self-isolation. They've got to lock themselves up in their own house and just keep to themselves.
Oh, that's going to be awful for them.
Well, I mean, they've had more years of freedom than they've had of captivity, so, you know, it's well behind them right now. And as the rest of the world really struggles with what to do and, you know, can't stop dancing to Britney Spears and other things,
It's a coping mechanism, Harry.
Sorry?
It's valid. It's a valid coping mechanism.
They have this whole self-isolation thing down. They know exactly what to do and how to keep themselves busy.
Actually, that's true. They might handle it surprisingly well.
Yeah, exactly. And so when eventually the world gets completely bored and they'll start breaking isolation and everything and everybody's going crazy in their own homes, Brie Larson has the great idea, hey, let's start a vlog. And
Vlog.
Yeah, they start a vlog, they show people how to be self-isolated and how to make it work. And it's very successful. They make even more money and live even more happily ever after.
Oh, so they become like YouTube
The
stars.
end, again.
Okay, yeah, like that. What did you have a title for that? For either of those? Oh.
Yeah, that was the Room 2 self-isolation.
Oh yeah, was the title for the first one? Did you say
Roommates.
Roommates? That was it. Okay, cool. Okay, no, very good. Both very plausible. I can see that.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, I think we managed to get away with that. Just
Yeah. See, now I brought a bit of a positive energy to this episode. I feel like you didn't.
look, I did my best. What do you want from me with this emotional ringer of a film? Like,
in the future, John, you're always welcome to veto a film.
okay, well, next time maybe I will.
Good. Okay.
Okay.
Do you want to do listener submissions?
I don't this week, I'm afraid.
Oh shit!
The well was dry. Really, nothing? No, sorry. My listeners agreed. They had nothing for this one, I'm afraid.
Oh wow. Okay. Okay. Well, you know, maybe the listeners should have vetoed this as well then.
Maybe everyone should have thought better of this.
No. Well,
Okay.
Okay.
Well.
Bit of a dud. Fine. Whatever. I won't take it personally. It wouldn't be like me. But you know, fuck everybody.
It's a very good film and it's well worth watching. Whether or not it's a film for a generally comedic podcast,
Okay.
we will see. We'll let the listeners judge, but yeah. Okay, so
Quick question: do you think this will be our lowest ranked episode, like from listenership?
we'll have to find out, won't we? Maybe some people will think it's The Room and be very bitterly
that's the
disappointed.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There must be a lot of crossover between those films. So thank you, nobody, for those sequel ideas. But in general, we do ask for your listener submissions every week, a few days before we record, by putting posts out on Facebook and Twitter, where you can post your ideas. So make sure you like and follow our pages if you don't want to miss out. To listen to more episodes of Beyond the Box Set, you can subscribe and browse our back catalogue on any podcasting platform, including iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and many others. 5-star reviews are greatly appreciated. They really help us to expand our listener base. And of course, as mentioned, we are also available on Patreon, which is exclusively for the kind of people who would rate us more than 5 stars if they could. You can find all those links in the description below or at beyondtheboxset.com.
And also, one little announcement.
Oh, okay, I don't know anything about this.
As of this coming Friday night, at about 8 p.m.
Oh, I do know about this. Okay, yes.
Yeah. This Friday night, 8 p.m. British summertime. Have to work out your own time zones. We're going to be doing, or I'm going to be doing, some live quizzes. I'm going to live stream on YouTube. So we've been writing quizzes for our pub, pop culture quizzes for nearly 2 years. Every month. So we've got a whole big back catalogue. So yeah, I thought I'd just do them again on our YouTube page. So tune in this Friday, 8 o'clock. I'm going to be doing a Star Wars quiz.
Ooh, okay. So how are you thinking it's going to work? Is it just going to be a YouTube live stream and then people play along at home?
Yeah, that's it. People, play along at home, find a thing to write down yourself and mark your own answers. Obviously, you know, play it honestly, because where's the fun if you're not going to do that?
Sure, yeah.
And we'll see who's the biggest Star Wars nerd.
Oh, I'm excited. Should be interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, that's a new thing for us. Tune in at Friday, 8 o'clock. Just search Beyond the Box Set on YouTube for that, or go to our website. All the links are there. And next week, Harry, it's a me choice. I did want to, after this, I was desperate to think of like some brilliant self-isolation comedy that I could bring into the table just to, you know, lighten things up a little bit. But they're a bit thin on the ground, really. But so I found a film that's on theme, and hopefully does not fall into the category of uber depressing in the way that this one did. But we'll see. We'll judge. The film I've chosen is actually a horror movie, or maybe sort of a horror movie. I'll let you decide. I don't know if you've seen it or not. The film we're going to do is The Others.
The Others.
Do you know anything about this film?
Not at all.
Okay, great. Well then, I would say watch it blind.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll do my best.
Cool.
Great. All right. Well, that's hopefully going to be interesting. I'll have to find out.
Yeah. So I'm going to go log off and watch something very funny and light and not emotionally draining. But thank you for listening, and join us next week for The Others.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, guys. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
I love you, Grandma.